Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sisterhood community, where we speak to women all across the globe. We share and connect through authentic conversation and wisdom, and we heal and grow. Today, I'm speaking to the beautiful, lovely Marcella, and we're going to be speaking about motherhood and self-care.
I love it.
Oh,
Thank you for having
Marcella.
me.
Yes, it is a pleasure. Um, so I really, we've had many conversations. So today I really want to get into uh, how do you navigate taking care of yourself as a mother, and just the responsibilities, um, the time you take to yourself, and yeah, so forth.
Yeah, I think as most mothers would realize, it's always a struggle, right? Because we give so much when we have a child, and we're under the impression that if we're not giving all the time, then we're not being as good of a mom as we need to be. And so I struggled with that, especially in the beginning. And then I got to a point where I'm like, if I'm not okay, then my daughter's not okay. And for a while there, I was just literally running on fumes. So for me, I really started to implement a lot more self care. It's still a struggle. I'm sure you understand. It's never perfect. We're always probably giving more than we're giving to ourselves. We're always giving to others. But for me, I've really found that like trying to get up a little earlier, taking some moments. Sometimes I'll tell my daughter I need a little alone time. I'll be like, I just need some space. So I think starting to cultivate that too and not feeling guilty about it, because I know for me it was a struggle in the beginning. I was like, well, I shouldn't want alone time. I shouldn't want space to myself. I shouldn't want time to myself. I should just love being a mother 24/7. And I love my daughter, but I also love and miss the version of myself that was a little less mom. And so I think it's okay to recognize that and be okay with the fact that it's like I love being a mom, I love my child, but sometimes I want to be just me for a little bit. So for me, a lot of the stuff that I do is like, I'm a detox and holistic health coach. So I like to go in the sauna, I like to take time for myself, self-care, even taking like a bath at the end of the night. Like I think sometimes we don't do the self-care because we think it has to be some big thing that's going to take a lot of time. But even carving out like 5 minutes to meditate, to breathe, to go in a room and punch a pillow and get all of your anger out and then go back in and talk to your child and not have that anger. Like, I just think all of that's important. So, not making it such a big deal, but just cultivating like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to process your emotions and be with yourself. So, it's still a work in progress, of course, but those are some of the little things that I try and incorporate throughout my day so that I can stay sane. Because I am a single mother, so it's just me and my daughter all the time. So it's extra important because other people can't give me that time necessarily, that I create that for myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You actually just gave me some ideas about waking up early because that's definitely needed. I find myself like going as soon as I arise, and it creates anxiety. So I
Oh, yeah.
definitely, yes, that's something I definitely would love to implement. Yeah. From my experience, I agree. Like, you definitely need to carve out little moments if you're not able to get large chunks of time, because those little moments, they really add up. Like when mama's taking care of her well-being, everything's much smoother and everybody's more like peaceful and grounded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
the kids,
definitely agree
they,
with
they
that.
feed off of that. So when I'm super stressed, I notice that my daughter, she's also having like a hard time managing her emotions. But when I'm calm, when I wake up early and I'm more regulated emotionally, then she is as well. So I know it's hard because as moms, we're like, I just want to get as much sleep as possible. But even getting up like 20 to 30 minutes early for a while there, because I often am an all or nothing kind of girl. So I was like, I need to get up at 4 a.m. But then that was getting a little too tough. So I'm like, well, then what's the point? I might as well just sleep in. It's like, it's not between 4 a.m. and sleeping until 8 a.m. Maybe you find that 6 a.m. works for you, or 6:30, or if you normally wake up at 7, even 6:45. But just like being okay with taking those small steps, and eventually you can maybe wake up even earlier, but just like carving a little bit of time for yourself to be like, oh, I'm by myself, I can breathe before the day starts is super important.
Yes, I love it. That's definitely like gonna be implemented because I don't know about 4 a.m., but
Yeah,
definitely, yeah,
that's a lot. I
like
was doing
7. But yeah, proceed. But yeah, it's funny. It's important that you did that. Yeah, yeah, I also found like for me, I'm naturally like this, like you said, an all or nothing. I'm like a go-getter. I'm very ambitious. So I had all these ideas that I came up with plans for things I wanted to do for the community, to create financial, abundance and also just to pour into people because that's something I'm very passionate about. And, I find myself like daily mentally like planning, like almost like for the whole day, it seems like. And then it affected how I was showing up for myself. I wasn't carving out the necessary time to just put that aside.
Yeah.
And then it affected how I was showing up for my babies. And that was just, it was like 3 days. Were very stressful and overwhelming for me. I was having headaches. I'm like, what is going on? I
Mm,
thought I wasn't drinking enough water, like, but I realized like I was really like in a survival mindset. I wasn't doing it from a very grounded place. So I realized, I need to step back from this. Like maybe it is not time for me to go out and venture on these projects because yeah, I have to be aware of where I'm at. I just like my mother just passed in May, and I'm like, it's still so fresh to me. And
mm,
it's not every day that it comes up, but it is, often. It's multiple times a week, and I'm like, I really need to just take care of myself during this time before I decide to just pour into other people because we really do like forget sometimes to take care of ourselves before we jump out there and take care of our children because it's natural. It's like a
yeah.
motherly instinct to be like, my children needs me. Like, let me just surrender. Let me just put the downtime I wanted to myself to put to my babies because, we want to pour into them. We want to nourish them and spend that quality time and just like for me, I love reading. I just want my child to have everything she needs. And my son, because he's like 11 months, so he still, of course, needs me, like, because breastfeeding, which is another challenge.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's exhausting.
oh my gosh, girl, been
Yeah.
like going through like times like I am right now, and then having to surrender to like an hour of like comfort like feeding, like in like a whole hour. I was sitting there like frustrated and crying because I want to write, I want to rest, I want to eat my salad. Like, and it's like I just have to surrender to this because he needs me to rest to fall asleep. So I'm like, okay, let me just cry, let me let it out, and then like everything's gonna be okay. Like I know for me, writing is a very sacred outlet for me. So I literally just write on the keyboard after writing about just
Yeah.
that experience so that I could
I,
let go of that energy.
yeah, it is hard. I think, especially for women who are ambitious, motherhood is a beautiful thing, but you also have to be aware that like you need to take a little time and things might be a little stagnant for a bit. And that was
Hmm.
something that was hard for me because financially, I'm a hustler. I would work 3 or 4 jobs at a time. I was good to go. But then I also wanted to be an amazing mom. And it's like sometimes you do have to make choices for a period of time. It's not saying that you can't be a hustler and a mom at the same time, but there's a time for everything. And when our little ones are this little, it doesn't mean that you can't be ambitious and work towards your goals, but you may not be able to attack it with the same amount of energy and time and force that you did when, you didn't have a child and you were just on your own. So I think that's been a thing for me too, is like finding my self-worth as a mother and not just from my productivity. And that was really hard because I always found self worth from being successful and being productive and, creating things. And it's like, I mean, having a child is like the biggest creation of all, but it just feels like, okay, because I'm sitting at home with her and I'm playing games or I'm breastfeeding, like I'm not doing. And I think as mothers, we need to realize like that is doing. It's the highest possible level of doing. So that's also a transition. It's like we never get to I feel like there should be a class transitioning from like not being a mother to being a mother because it is it's different because yeah, a lot of your self-worth is wrapped up in like what you do. And then I feel like as a mother, if you do take a little bit of that time off and just be a mother, you still need to create self-worth in that because it's a really amazing thing, but I don't feel like society values motherhood enough right now. Like I remember being excited to be a pregnant person because I'm like pregnant woman. I don't even know why I said pregnant person because I'm like, oh my god, people are gonna open the door for me, and then the, I'm gonna be able to sit. No one cared. No one cared at all, and I'm like, oh, that was like one of the perks I was super excited for. No one did anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm like, what? Where is all this like VIP treatment? When I took a couple flights, I did not get bumped up to first class. Um, so anyway, I don't even know where that was going, but I do think society really should value mothers a little more.
Yes. Well, the thing is, it's gotten so far from that because as mothers, we're told that we need to go out here and just within 6 weeks go to jobs and like hustle to provide. And it's like in motherhood, it's natural for us to slow down and be
Yes.
with our children and rest because we're supposed to be resting to heal. And that's something that is just, it's not created for us like that anymore. And I feel like that's something that mothers are becoming more aware of, because they want to be home with their children. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, the mental health thing is huge too, because as mothers to expect us to go out there and the stress and worry of like, is our child okay? Because we naturally have that attachment for like, so long after our children are born. And just for life, I feel like it's something, that natural connection that we both need, child and mother. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
super it's
crazy.
really powerful. And the thing is too, I think it goes against our natural tendencies to want to just go back into work after I remember when my daughter was 6 weeks old, I could not imagine leaving her with anyone else. And it's like so many of these women they have to go back to work. And there is nothing like having a child that made me okay with the more like the gender roles. I understand why it was like the men work and the women stay home. And I'm not saying that's how it has to be for everyone, but I appreciate it a little more because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to do everything. I don't want to work a ton of hours and try and be a mom and cook all the meals and clean and do the laundry." Like there are different roles, right? And I think there's something actually really beautiful about that because at this point in my life, I would love to have a supportive partner. I can't imagine how different the process would be if I had someone who was supportive so I could just focus on my daughter and just being very feminine. And I feel like a lot of women are going into this process with that very like masculine energy. Like, I'm having a child, but I also have to work. I also have to make sure everything's taken care of. And it's like, it's just kind of a disconnect a little bit. And I feel like women, when you have a child, you need to be so connected. You're in tune with their needs. You're taking care of them. You're taking care of the house. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm okay with gender roles. I'm at this age. I used to be like, I don't want any kids. I'm just gonna work. I'm gonna do this. And now that I have a daughter, I'm like, oh, at least I get it. And it doesn't mean the woman has to do something and the man has to. Everyone just needs to have separate roles, to help. This is the
Mhm.
time where you need help.
Yep. And I feel like the way that, everything's been created, it's like the men are the natural protectors, they're the natural providers. But the mental health of men is not considered because the systems in place, they want men to go out there, literally put all their time towards these like corporations, and then it just affects the home because the man's not receiving the adequate time for self-care, and then the woman is stressed because she's been with the children all day. Yeah, it's really not like realistic when you're talking about like a healthy partnership, a healthy like family system. It's not because men also deserve that space created for them to just enjoy their lives. Yeah, when you're talking about what's been created, and also when women are going out there, it's like to these jobs, you're talking about like a week and 2 weeks of vacation a
Yeah,
year. Where's the
crazy.
priority of self care and then family time? It's
Yeah,
like not there. So
it's
the
not.
what I've seen is like the marriages and the relationships. they're like not lasting, and it's because I feel like there's not as much connection, because
Mm-hmm.
when we go out there and we work, we're also disconnecting from ourselves by putting our time and energy into these companies that don't really care about us,
Yeah.
that we really don't, like many of us don't enjoy what we do when you're talking about like a 9 to 5 and things. We just do what we have to do to literally survive. And I love what you were saying about women going into that masculine role, because when you're telling a mother to go out there and work and be hyper masculine and hyper independent, and then she comes into the home and she's more irritable because she's overwhelmed, she's overstimulated, she's stressed, and it's like we as a society have judged women and mothers so much. I'll say mothers especially, for how they show up um, with their children and just with other people, because they come off aggressive, and it's like, what do you expect? It's not set up for us to be in our feminine at all. And it goes against the natural flow, like a
Yeah.
thousand percent.
I think that most of my life I've been in my masculine. I remember I had one relationship where I was with someone who was very masculine. I could be feminine, and I was like, "Who is this person?" Like I didn't even recognize myself. But I promise you, it is the happier role for me. I actually would rather be more feminine. It was softer. It was more like I just saw this new side of myself, and I'm like, "Oh wait, feels like this feels aligned." And I think society is set up, it's so funny because they're like, men want women to be feminine, but also for women to be safe in that feminine role, the man has to be very masculine, right? I have to feel protected, taken care of to get into that. And I think that's one of the struggles that I see nowadays. It's like the men are turning very feminine and the women are turning more masculine. It's almost like roles are switching, and it doesn't feel like the natural order of thing, which is why I feel that people are often very unhappy, right? We're just going through life, we're surviving, but I don't find that a lot of people are like thriving.
Hmm. Yep. And also, like what I said with the men's mental health, it's like it's natural for them to be in their masculine, but when you're asking them to put aside their needs and wants, then
Mm-hmm.
they suppress how they feel to provide, and then that creates this aggression, this natural aggression that they don't try, but it's like it comes out in like passive aggressive ways,
Mm-hmm.
because they're just, they're not as satisfied as they would be if they were able to, just do whatever they want. So I feel like, it's just very important that as mothers, um, and fathers, that we find things that we can do with the gifts we have and the talents we have, and create income with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
Yeah.
like also being of service is a wonderful thing to do, but you first have to be of service to yourself. You have to develop that self compassion, that grace, just that self love and worth, to be able to even see, where humanity is as a whole, and then to want to pour into the people. Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
know, like as women, like when we're more grounded, when we're more in tune with ourselves, and we give ourselves grace to slow down, then we get the clarity that we need to create lives that we love. And it
Yeah.
doesn't happen overnight. It's like the ideas come, like the more that we really honor our bodies and how we feel. But when we go against that, and we don't give ourselves space to rest and to just be, then that clarity isn't going to come like as quickly, if at all, really, if you go into that hyper masculine role. Um, so that's why, yeah, self care, and learning to love yourself and pour into yourself in ways that you have not received from other people is vital, because we all deserve to live lives that are nourishing and that, feel calm and peaceful, so we can pour into ourselves and our children and our partners.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like our superpower as women is that like intuition and listening to our bodies. And I feel like when you are so overworked and stressed and just living in survival mode, I feel like the first thing to go is the intuition. I feel like my brain doesn't even have time to listen to that. I'm like, anyway, and
Hmm.
I'm doing so much stuff. And I just feel like that's also where people are getting sick anymore because they're so exhausted. They're not really doing work that they love that feels aligned.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not in the relationships they want to be with. They're not in the jobs that they want. They're not living, they're not creating. And I think as people we're meant to create, I think that makes us happy, and people can create in different ways, right? You can create in AI or technology, or you can create in art, or you can create in music or dance and things like that. But I think so many of us are just trying to make ends meet and survive. And that's where, when you're unhappy and you're exhausted and you've disconnected from yourself, I feel like that's where disease comes about. It's like I'm seeing these women getting cancer at like 25 years old. Like, it's just shocking to me because it's
Yeah.
almost become normal to be like, oh my gosh, this young woman who just had a child 18 months ago now has cancer. And you're like, this is insane. This used to be like an older person disease. But I just think
Mhm.
we are stressing and exhausting our bodies so much that it's just, yeah, we're all getting sick, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's really, really unfortunate because now when you're a mother, you realize how important it is to be healthy because you want nothing more than to be around for your children and to take care of them in a certain way.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is something, I feel like has been going on since like we were put into the school systems and things. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when we are told as little girls, and I mean, well, I'll just speak for little girls. When we're told as little girls that we need to like be a certain way, to not speak up, to just be compliant, we just we naturally like when you're talking about people older than us, we just listen. And it's like I feel like seeing my daughter how she expresses herself right now because she's 4, she'll be like,
Yeah.
no, no, like to everything. If I try to tell her to do something, she's like, no, no. And I have to teach her like, okay, it's okay to say no, like for boundaries. But I'm like, if I'm telling you that we're taking a shower, we're taking a shower. And, I feel like many of us, whether it be, the parents we had or the school system, they're telling us to just be quiet. Like, and then we're going into these schools uncomfortable. We're not around our parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, we naturally are just like going to listen. And I feel like that creates this regulation within us, that starts that young that we just carry and we just feel like, okay, if we're not working, if we're not performing well in school and in our jobs, then we're not doing right. Like, we're like failures. And I feel like we naturally strive to be the best we can be in those areas. But it's important to be the best we can be, like within ourselves first. Um, and, that takes consistency, that takes time to pull away from things, um, and just trust ourselves as women so that we can begin to like get in tune with our intuition again. And it isn't until we listen to our bodies, like our hearts and our souls, that we can begin to see things more clearly. Like if, say we're at a job, if we don't like the job, we have to honor that. We don't just need to stay because this is the only thing that's bringing in income and there's nothing else. We need to believe that there's something else and we need to find a way to find something more aligned. And the more we listen to ourselves when it comes to boundaries with other people, sexual boundaries too, jobs, we become more in tune, and that's our intuition. And we begin to make decisions off surety and we don't question ourselves anymore. And
Yeah,
it's
I
really
think,
a beautiful thing.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think having a child is like it's the motivating force behind wanting to better yourself so that you can do right by your children. Like, there are so many things. My mother was wonderful, but there are so many things that she did that I want to do for my daughter, and there's so many things that I wish that I would have had that I want to give to my daughter as well. And it's like you were saying, learning to set boundaries and that it's okay, and it's okay for you not to be everyone's cup of tea, right? It's like I don't want my daughter to be a people pleaser. I want her to have boundaries. I want her to be so self assured in who she is as a person that it doesn't matter what other people say. And I think that a lot of times women are brought up to make everything fine, right? Don't ruffle any feathers, don't upset people, be the peacemaker, be the people pleaser. And that is something that I just don't want to do to my daughter because a lot of us are spending our adult life now trying to undo all of that stuff, right? And one of the reasons
Exactly.
that like I have my daughter and I don't have her in daycare or preschool or anything like that right now is that they often say when you put your child in those things too early, they start to look for self validation from their peers versus learning from their parents, which I thought was really interesting because it's like, yeah, at a young age, a lot of kids, they want their friends to like them, right? Or the teachers in the class. And it's when you keep them home a little bit, you can influence them a little more. And I thought that was super interesting. And I'm like, that makes sense because I spent my whole life like, does this person like me? Does this person like me? Does this person agree with me? And it's like, we really have to teach our children to get that internal validation. I think that's huge. And I think that sets your children up for a very different life because then they will go forward with things that they're passionate about, that they love, that feels aligned without the validation of other people. And that to me is like a superpower in and of itself. I wish I would have learned that like a long time ago. Oh my God, I would
Right?
be so my life would look completely different. I think of how many opportunities like I squandered and I didn't go all in on because of how I was nervous of how it would look to other people,
Hmm.
which is like, oh my gosh, it seems insane. Life is so
I
short.
know.
Why would you
Yeah.
not take your opportunities and go do something that feels aligned and awesome, all because of what
Yeah.
other people think? Like, that's the
Yes.
most frustrating thing ever when I look back at my life and I'm like, oh my God, I would have done things so differently if I didn't
Mhm.
freaking care.
Yeah. I feel like that ties into like, if we were bullied, just how our parents, like, would you say like your mother or your father, they cared what people thought?
Probably, I think my biggest issue was I cared so much what my mother thought. Like, I loved her so much, and I so badly like wanted to make her proud, which I think is a danger that we can. I was an only child as well, so I think that's a little bit of a trap, right? When you're super close to your child and it's just you and her, and she was a single mom for a little bit. So a lot of the decisions I made, I didn't ask myself what I wanted. It was like, what will make my mother happy, or what will look
Mm.
everyone said I should get into music and be a singer, and I do love to sing. But did I really like when I think deep down, did I really, really want to do that? Not really. There's some other choices that I would have made if I asked myself, like, what do you truly want? And so as a mother, I want to make sure when my daughter gets older, I start asking her, like, well, what do you want? No, she's a great singer and dancer. I'll be like, you're fantastic. I would love to see you do that. But what matters to me more than anything is that you're happy. And that might
Mhm.
mean doing something that I think is absolutely insane, right? I also loved riding horses. My mom was like, no, we're not doing that, right? But I
Yeah.
just want her to be happy. I don't want her to get to 30, 40 years old and say, like, I haven't pursued anything that I really love. That would
Hmm.
just break my heart, you know? So I do think we try and do things differently because we know what we needed. And I think that's why each generation ideally um, gets better and better because you're just
Hmm.
improving, continuously improving on your childhood.
Yeah. And what's beautiful is like our children, that generation, they're going to grow from where they are now into themselves. Whereas we had to grow as somebody else's version of who they wanted us to be, and then we had to like rediscover ourselves again, which that's been a process. It's like definitely very healing, and it can feel chaotic, but it's also beautiful. And yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
all
love
part of
how,
the process.
yeah. And then I also, when you had mentioned, they get influenced at a young age, within those systems, because I've been having awareness around the dysregulated nervous system, just being in those classrooms with all the loud noise and things. Um, you shine light on like what my daughter's currently going through because
Hmm.
people comment about her hair, like they'll make comments about what she's wearing. So almost daily, like we have this like meltdown about like her hair and the specific clothes she wants to wear. I love her being able to express herself. Like I want her to wear what she wants to wear,
Yeah.
but I also have to tell her like we have to wear something different, baby. Like she wants to wear a lot of the same things because she loves dresses and things. But yeah, children comment on her hair, like they'll say it's ugly, and I'm like, we don't even use language like that. So when I
Wow.
find out someone saying that to her, I'm like, baby, you are beautiful. I'm like, who cares what people think? It matters how you see yourself. Like,
Yeah.
know that you are radiant, you are vibrant. Your hair is beautiful and curly, and
Mm.
like so many people would love to have what you have. So it's about
Oh
being
my God.
grateful for who you are and just loving yourself no matter what people say. So whenever she says that, me and her father will be like, who cares? Like, you have to love who you are. And we just constantly affirm her. And, for a while I was doing like a rising affirmation, like before she
Mhm.
would go into the daycare. And that's something I'm gonna like continue to implement. I just kind of like got off track for a little bit, but I think it's so important, before she goes into her day, and children in general, that we just remind them of how great they are,
Yeah.
because they are easily influenced by people around them, and it's just wild to see that kids are, influencing her in that way. Um, and it
Right.
shows me like how the parents speak to their children, how they speak about others, and just how easily that's just passed down and it's considered normal to these children. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's wild.
crazy. But I mean, one of the things too, it's like you can't shelter your children forever. So I think you're
Yep.
doing the best that you can do in saying like, do you like your hair? Like you have to be able to teach them in that setting, like how do you work through that, right? Because the one thing that I'm going to struggle with is I can tell I just want to shelter my daughter. Like I just want to avoid and I realize that I can't do that because then she's going to grow up and not know how to handle when things happen like that. So I was thinking it's a balance too of like, sheltering your child, but then also like, hey, you're going to go into an environment that may not be ideal. So how do we become resilient? How do we work through things? Like what do we think about ourselves? And even with her now, a lot of people will comment, "So you're so beautiful," and I'm always like, that's fine, whatever. But I really think we need to instill in our children like you're kind, you're smart, you're resilient, you're
Hmm.
confident, you're a leader, because all of those other compliments are surface level and it goes away. It's like you cannot attach your self worth and who you are to physical things. So, really instilling, all of this other stuff is more important that you're smart, that you're caring, that you're thoughtful, you're generous, all of those things. So, yeah, it just goes back to parenting. And yeah, everyone raises their children differently, everyone's households are different. And unfortunately, our children are going to encounter that. But the most important part is teaching them, like, let them say those things. Who cares if they say that? I just want that. I want to have that who cares attitude. Like care about people, but who cares what they think about you? Be a good
Hmm.
person, and that's all that matters. But yeah, there needs to be like a handbook for like perfect parenting. I don't know. It's a journey. It's a journey.
Hey, and there's no perfect. It's literally just like it's like just healthy parenting, because even healthy parenting in itself, it's like that you learn. It's a learning
Mhm.
process because it doesn't happen overnight. And I feel like we can be so hard on ourselves when we raise our voice, or maybe we try to silence our children's emotions. And it's like, it's because we weren't taught, we didn't see anything else, and we also have to validate our emotions during those overwhelming times. Like I have to remind myself, okay, before I try to tend to her emotion, clearly I'm overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
me trying to be like, okay, baby, it's all right, like calm down. She
Mhm.
feels that. So it's like it's not soothing. I like and
Yeah.
I'm aware of that now. So I'm like, okay, let me just distance myself for a second. Let her have her little meltdown. Let me cry. Let me breathe. Walk out the room. And then
Yeah.
just ground myself so that I can approach the situation different. And then she also has the opportunity to work through some of that like chaotic, like wild emotion
Chaotic is
because,
a good word for it. Yeah. Chaos.
well, well, pure and utter like chaos.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And the daycare thing, it is a big adjustment, because they're around other kids' behaviors
Mhm.
and they pick up on it. So, I've noticed like her behaviors changed when she gets out. So I'm having to practice more patience because I'm
Mm,
very aware she's around so many children. Um, I've walked in there, the music is loud. I'm like, this is so stimulating. So it's
yeah.
like, I know that she needs me to be as calm as possible while she's
Mm,
like letting out all this emotion. And I know it's temporary, you know, like her emotion's temporary. I know that I don't want her in daycare long. Like right now, it works out because,
mm,
you know, I have to do what I have to do as a mother.
yeah. Right.
Um, but yeah, in the future, it's like, oh, I'd rather create something much different to where I'm involved in her learning, where, you know, it's just more of like a homeschooling, like
Mm,
Montessori style learning situation.
yeah,
Um,
I would love that
yeah,
for
and
my
then
daughter.
connect. Oh yeah, and it's like as mothers, we can create this like for ourselves, and then we can align with other mothers who desire that, and just create like a community where we're like all pouring into our children, where our children have friends that we
Hmm.
know, like whose mothers have similar values, and it's more just balanced, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And they
yeah, and
always
that's a
say,
process too.
yeah, they say it takes a village. And I feel like that's always like a fun phrase that we throw around. And then you have a child and you're like, oh my God, no, it does take a village. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
why people used to live close to each other and families live together because it is a lot for one person. It's a lot for even two people. It's like you really need a community of people, especially ideal if they have your same values. You can count on each other. And it's like, okay, yeah, if you want to homeschool, that's great. So this mom does homeschooling on Mondays, and then this mom does homeschooling for all the kids on this day. And it's like you
Yes,
share.
yes.
And that's why I feel like people, even a lot of women, just decide they don't want to have kids because they see how like stressed out and exhausted mothers are. And it's like, it doesn't have to look like that. I really think if we start to build more of a community and create those connections, that it can just be like a really beautiful process, you know? But yeah, it is, it's almost like now you have to create it because it's not just ingrained anymore. Like families live far
Mm-mm.
away from each other, or, you know, family, your mother passes away, my mother passed away. I'm like, I can't even imagine how different it would be to be a mother right now if my mother was here. It's like I see people with these
Mm-hmm.
supportive grandparents and like have that extra support. And I'm like, that's that's a beautiful thing. It really, and I know if my mom were here, she would be that. But yeah, it's like getting that extra support. And if you don't have a family, it's like creating that within your community.
Yeah. And it really, not easily. I mean, it can be, I was going to say easily created, which it can be easy, you know, but it takes time to, you know, find
And
women and for us
intention.
to all come together. But yeah, it's funny you said that because that's what I was thinking as well. Like literally, a couple mothers take over a few days and then the other mothers because as men and women, mothers and fathers, like we who value their independence, we need time to pour into ourselves without feeling like the kids are all around us all the time, or even just a day to just do whatever we want. Like we deserve that. Um,
Yeah.
we don't have to just label ourselves in these roles. We're so much more. And once we acknowledge that and we start to find like hobbies and things that we're interested in, we need to go forth with those and trust that like our goals, our dreams, they matter and we can bring them to fruition. It's not impossible. Cause yeah, like you said, we're pretty much sold one way of living, you know, put your children in school, go to work, like literally give your children over to people to
Yeah.
raise them.
That you
And the
don't
most
know. You
vital,
don't know these people.
yeah, at all. You don't parent teacher conference. What's like 30 minutes gonna do? Like,
Right.
I
That
don't know
makes,
you.
yeah.
And then you're asking like dysregulated adults to tend to like 20 kids.
Yeah. They're
Just
also
like kids that
overwhelmed.
they don't know how to regulate themselves and they're learning emotional regulation during those vital years. They say from like I truly feel like it's like from birth to 10. Like they say 7, but I'm like, that's all just created. And I'm like, it's much more than that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
we're
it's,
asking
yeah,
overwhelmed teachers to teach our children to emotionally regulate themselves when they can't even handle the classrooms that they have. And then at home, we're stressed out too. So it's like, how do these children actually learn?
Yeah, and they're just told to just be still and not express themselves, but they're full of energy that needs to be let go of somehow. They need play. They need to create. Um, so yeah, I just the school system in itself is just not ideal, like for me especially, and I know many other women can relate because yeah, we want to be able to be there to support our children through that growth so they know how to take care of themselves in that way.
Yeah, when I think about like, I think sometimes we forget to look back at our own childhood. And I'm like, I didn't like school. I remember thinking like so much of my life is spent, and not to be dramatic, but it's essentially like jail, right? It's like you have lunch times, you have
Yeah,
recess, you're in class all the time, and then they're like, oh, this person has ADHD, ADD, and it's like they just need to be outside. They're active humans, which is like that is natural. What's unnatural is for us to sit inside a building all day long. And so when I think of my childhood and I'm like, I wanted nothing. It's not that I didn't like to learn. I love learning. I didn't want to sit in school all day long. So my goal for her and the reason that I'm going after my dreams and creating my own businesses is because I want to give her like actual immersive learning. It's like, okay, if we're going to learn about science or we're going to learn about Italy and all, like, let's go. Let's go there. Let's actually be
yes, yes,
immersed in the process because then half the stuff I learned in school, I don't even remember. But if my mother took me on a trip to that place and I learned about it and I experienced it, like now it's integrated. It's just a part of like my life experience. So for her, I really, obviously I'm not there yet. We're not, jetting off to Italy, but I want to create that for her where it's like, yeah,
will happen.
learning is fun. Like I think our kids
Yes.
think that learning isn't fun because of school. And it's like, no, really, a lot of us, we just love to learn and gather knowledge, but it's the way that we're being taught that turns us off from wanting to learn.
And it's what we're being taught,
Hmm.
because I feel like I'm gonna have to get off of here in a minute, but um, 5 minutes, okay, okay. Um, the baby is hungry.
Oh,
But yeah, I
time.
feel like yeah, I feel like, I know for me, learning has gotten more exciting. Like really gaining knowledge about life, about myself and other people, cultures. It's exciting to me. And when we're in school, we're told math, science, social studies, and then, social studies, it's like very limited. They don't go back to like when like Native Americans and people that were originally here and none of that.
We're
It's
being
so
programmed.
washed.
They're giving us information
It's
that they want
so,
us to know, but not real
yeah.
information. Yeah.
And exactly. And like I love what you said about immersive learning because that's something like I'm really passionate about. Like I love being outside. We learn about bugs and then we'll look
Mm,
them up like on YouTube and watch videos. Like or my daughter will come up with an animal. She'll be like, "Mommy, let's look up hippos." So we'll look up
yeah.
hippos, we'll learn about hippos. Um and it's just so important to keep that curiosity alive in our children because then as they grow, they're just more curious and they feel more alive in life, and they're not just, they don't feel like lifeless, because I feel like as we grow, if we're still like focused on jobs and certain things, we just begin to feel numb. And we're here to live. We have one experience in this body. I do believe we can reincarnate and experience life again. But it's like as of now, I am only in this body once. I'm to
Mm,
live life to my absolute fullest. I refuse to limit myself, and that's something, I used to do. So it's important our kids know that they can follow their dreams too, and nothing's impossible.
I love
And then
that.
the word itself, it says, I'm possible. So
Hmm.
it's like there's so many words with hidden meanings, and it's like you are possible. You are capable. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm excited for this new generation of kids that are being raised by people who have kind of a different mindset. And I think, everything you said
Mhm.
was super beautiful. And yeah, it's just all about creating that zest for life with our children, with
Mhm.
ourselves. And at the end of the day, I think that that's really what everyone's striving for.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed talking to you. It's been such
Yes,
a
as always.
pleasure. Yes, yes. Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch.
Yes. Thanks for
Beautiful
having me
interview.
on. I'm
Beautiful.
honored.
Yes, me as well. So yeah, I have to get going, but yeah, we'll talk soon in the future.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
Bye.
take care.